Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Maria Guajardo, and I am based in Tokyo, Japan. I am a professor of leadership studies here at Soka University, and I was intrigued with how music and art and culture, creativity and innovation all can connect, not only to music, but also to leadership. And so my presentation for this event is titled Leadership Lessons and the Power of Music, a Path to Dignity. How did this interest of mine come about? Well, you see, as I was teaching leadership, I understood that there were traditional Western models, but something told me that there was so much more that we could gain from leadership, so much more that we could gain from art and culture. And so I chanced upon a dialogue that was held between the jazz musician Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, and the peace leader Daisaku Ikeda in a dialogue book published called Reaching Beyond. And as I read this book, I just became fascinated with the leadership lessons that connected to music. And so what I'd like to do is share with you some of my insights, some of what came about. So I've decided to encapsulate the lessons into 5 leadership lessons and show the connection between music, jazz improvisation in particular, and the field of leadership. But more importantly, what it means for you and for me to step into our leadership practice. So let's get going. So, what is that first lesson? The first lesson is based on improvisation. The idea that improvisation is central to jazz, and it requires one's ability to listen and to respond to others. In this respect, music is very relational. I would suggest to you that leadership is also very relational, very similar to jazz. In order to be able to improvise in this relationship with others, we have to be able to trust. We have to be able to trust others in partnership with us and our co-creation. We have to be present. We can't be thinking of the past, anticipating the future. We have to be grounded, experiencing the here and now. And we also have to be aware of group dynamics. Jazz, like leadership, is not about a central, singular individual, but it is about how we as individuals connect, combine, co-create with others. So the first leadership lesson is the idea that in order to be great at jazz, in order to be great at leadership, the practice of leadership, we need to be able to improvise, to trust, to be present, and to be able to assess and moderate those group dynamics, not knowing exactly what is going to happen next, but having this anticipatory nature about us. So that is leadership lesson number 1. Second, another leadership lesson is that when playing music, in particular jazz, the music inside of oneself has to be awakened. In this respect, leadership also requires that one's leadership practice awaken. What does that mean? I would say today that it means that we need to be able to lose our fear of accepting responsibility. A jazz musician, similar to an individual in their practice of leadership, must be able to accept responsibility, to act, to perform, to practice, in order to be able to chart our own course. We cannot hide behind our instrument, as the jazz musician Wayne Shorter declared. We need to be one with that instrument, but we need to recognize that what we do with the instrument is what is most important. And so, similarly, in leadership, we cannot hide behind our position or our title. It is what our practice of leadership will reveal that is most important. What will we do with that? And that takes me to the third lesson that is reflected in both jazz and in the field of leadership, and that is purpose. We need to be able to know and name our purpose, both in music and in leadership. One would say that Music or jazz awakens one's curiosity, it awakens one's heart, it inspires and elevates people's lives. And very similarly, the same could be said for leadership. Again, back to this dialogue between these two jazz musicians and this peace ambassador, Daisaku Ikeda. In the dialogue, Wayne Shorter said, through music, he worked to develop his own human spirit. He was very clear about that purpose, and he said, there is a clear purpose in everything that I do. Leaders must embody this sense of purpose. Leadership must also connect the heart and connect to creativity, because we will not always know what is coming next or what will be revealed. In jazz, similar to in positions or in the practice of leadership, the unknown is lurking around the corner, and we must be ready. We must be present. We must be grounded. We must understand and embrace our sense of purpose. Third, that was the third lesson. And fourth, dialogue is central to music. A musician is having dialogue not only with other musicians on stage, but also with the audience. And because music is a dialogue, it is important to have a successful dialogue. And what would that entail? A successful dialogue is not up to the other person, Daisaku Ikeda would say. He goes on to say, it is up to us. We must put aside our fear. We must courageously open our heart and speak from a position of equality and respect. So this leadership lesson number 4 is about dialogue, about taking responsibility to make dialogue successful. And then fifth, what is the fifth leadership lesson that comes from the power of music? Daisaku Ikeda shared that music refines the human heart. And Wayne Shorter, in this dialogue with Herbie Hancock, said, we must play from the heart, and leadership also shares this tradition. Here we begin to open that pathway to dignity. I love that another scholar, Donna Hicks, has written extensively on dignity. And she says she differentiates dignity from respect. She says respect is earned, but dignity is a birthright. We are born as human beings to have that sense of dignity. And so, as we think about the path to human rights, the path to human rights education, human rights similarly has a sense of birthright similar to dignity. And so I would suggest that these lessons of leadership that emerge from the music tradition are lessons that will serve us well as we embrace this work towards advancing human rights and human rights education. So a quick recap, what are those lessons? Number 1, leadership, similar to jazz, is improvisational. We need to be able to improvise, and this works best when we are in relationship with others. Second, we need to awaken the leader within us. We need to lose our fear of accepting responsibility. Let's accept it, and in that manner, chart our own course. Third, purpose. Name your purpose. What is the purpose of your leadership? Is it for self-aggrandizement, or is it for the greater good? Work to develop the human spirit through your practice of leadership. And fourth, dialogue is required. A successful dialogue is up to you. Take responsibility. It requires that open heart. And then fifth, while listening to that human heart, we will open the path of dignity. And it is instrumental in opening the path to human rights. Thank you so much. And let's move forward practicing our leadership.